Hey guys, what's up? James here from Embark, and today we're going to look at the top 10 mental models to help you build wealth. So I made a video about my top 10 mental models, just overall mental models. You can watch it here, got about 700 views. So I thought I'd do one specific to generating wealth. Mental models often help shape behavior and can be used as shortcuts to reasoning. And most mental models are good to use anyway because of their ability to help you see the world more clearly, shape your life to how you want it, and to help you work smart, not hard. However, some are more useful than others with regards to building wealth. So let's jump straight into it and have a look at the top 10 mental models for generating and building wealth. Number 1, the myth of sacrifice. You are probably less connected to something than you think you are, and the benefits of giving it up are too big to ignore. And the idea that you're giving up something that you enjoy every single day, for instance like a McDonald's, creates a myth that you are sacrificing it. Whereas instead, you should be thinking of like not doing one thing daily, one small thing, i.e. eating a burger, will lead you to this one big thing. So instead of sacrificing something, you're not sacrificing something, you're just building towards good health. So you're building towards this big overall objective instead of focusing on these small individual things. And because this sacrifice is a myth, you probably wouldn't even miss it anyway, maybe for the first week, and then you'd get over it. So don't be emotional. Make the change and start thinking about more important things. 2, inversion. Charlie Munger once said, "All I want to know is where I'm going to die, so I'll never go there." And this was based off the mathematician Carl Gustav Jacobi, his technique of man muss immer umkehren, or invert, always invert. Sometimes flipping things back to front or upside down can have a massive impact. Many of the greatest thinkers and richest people will invert their thinking all the time. They'll think about the exact opposite problem that they're currently having. Think about the worst case scenario of making a decision to see if they actually want to make it. They'll steelman their position by thinking about the opponent's position better than their opponent knows it. They'll think about goals and work backwards. They'll look at how everyone's doing one thing or how the world does one thing, and they'll do the opposite, always flipping and inverting the rules. Instead of thinking about trying to have this massive end goal of being rich and successful, think about small daily things you can do to not be poor and not be unsuccessful. Number 3, arbitrage thinking. Arbitrage is the purchase and sale of something in order to make a profit from a price variance in different markets. Historically, arbitrage has been done with assets such as currencies, metals, commodities, and stocks. This mental model is to adapt the strategy of capitalizing on a value variance in different markets. This might be price, like normal arbitrage, for instance, buying and selling items online and selling them on different platforms to make a profit, or maybe knowledge arbitrage, taking a strategy or understanding from one industry and using it in another industry to be innovative and create lucrative business. Number 4, small wins, small gains. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, highlights this with his The Power of Tiny Gains. You'll see that it's basically identical to a compound interest graph because, of course, this is the same principle. It's just applied to your effort. Leveraging compound effort is pretty simple, but you rarely see it in everyday people. Why? Because it takes consistency. Yes, there might be days where you're not improving the thing that you're trying to improve. Everyone needs days off to avoid burnout. 100% that is the truth. But other than that, all you're trying to do is be slightly better than you were the day before. So if you're trying to improve your writing, write every day. If you're trying to improve your knowledge, read every day. If you're trying to improve your video editing skills, edit every day. If you're trying to improve your programming, you get it. A win is a win, and winning makes you feel good. So be consistent and complete small goals to help you get those daily wins and build that momentum. Number 5, if a task is only going to take 1 minute, just do it immediately. So this is quite a popular one. It's popular for a reason, but it doesn't work for everyone. Effectively, if you think of a task that needs doing at any one point and you know it only takes a minute to do it, just do it immediately. Don't write it down on a to-do list to do a unspecified time tomorrow or the next day. Just get it done. To quote Nike's slogan, just do it. And this helps you not get bogged down by all these little niggly things that you have to do. where you'd have to, you'd look at your list and be like, right, I need to block out an hour or 2 hours to get through this massive list of tiny little 1 minute things. And it's one of the ways a ton of successful people like Gary Vaynerchuk, for instance, stays ahead of his enormous workload. Number 6, life is a game. After years of being around some successful people and consuming content from successful people like books, podcasts, interviews, articles and things like that, I've noticed that one thing they have in common is they treat life as a game. They have an absolute unwavering commitment to their one thing. They're always thinking about the macro, the game. They don't get scared selling. They don't get scared doing anything. For them, it's just a means to an end. They have that end goal of winning their game, whatever that may be. So they don't care about the small, minute things that might scare other people. They just do them because they know that it's getting them on that path to their end goal. They will, if they're selling, for instance, they're going to knock on the door of the 1000th house with as much enthusiasm and as much excitement as they did for the first one, regardless of whether they've just had 999 rejections. They have their ultimate goal of winning their game. So why would they care about each individual play? 7, know your circle of competence. Investment billionaires Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger sort of created this motto and coined this phrase. Know your circle of competence and stick to it. The bones of this concept appeared in the Berkshire Hathaway shareholders letter in 1996. They said, what an investor needs is the ability to correctly evaluate selected businesses. Note the word selected. You don't have to be an expert on every company or even many. You only have to be able to evaluate companies within your circle of competence. The size of that circle is not very important. Knowing its boundaries, however, is vital. So speak less on what you don't know and concentrate on what you truly do know. If you spent 10 years in construction and you want to go into business for yourself, don't open a shoe shop. Your knowledge, your skills are completely useless there. Stick to your circle. Now, that's not to say you shouldn't learn new things. And in fact, number 8 is constantly learn, and specifically read. Consider the extreme reading habits of billionaire entrepreneurs. Warren Buffett spends 5 to 6 hours a day reading newspapers and 500 pages of corporate reports. Bill Gates reads 50 books a year. Mark Zuckerberg aimed to read at least 1 book every 2 weeks. Elon Musk grew up reading 2 books a day. Mark Cuban reads for more than 3 hours every day. Arthur Blank, co-founder of Home Depot, reads 2 hours a day. Billionaire entrepreneur David Rubenstein reads 6 books a week. And Dan Gilbert, self-made billionaire who owns Cleveland Cavaliers and 100 Thieves, reads for 1 to 2 hours every day. Reading is effectively using compound interest to build knowledge. But reading tons isn't going to help you if you don't understand any of it. And that brings me along to number 9, Feynman learning technique. The mark of truly understanding a subject is when you can explain it to someone else clearly and succinctly with no holes. So the Feynman learning technique goes like this. You explain what you know about a subject as if you're explaining it to a 10-year-old. If there's any gaps in your knowledge, when you're reading these back or you're thinking about if there's any gaps in your knowledge, you go back to the source material and brush up and relearn those gaps. And then you try again, making notes as you go. Now you should have some decent notes that helps explain the subject. You would order those into a beginning to end narrative, and then if there's any gaps when you're reading through it or anything that sounds confusing, then you go back a step and go back to the source materials and again try and fill in those gaps. And you will have truly learnt this when there's no gaps in your understanding and you can explain it clearly. So you'd actually go to someone and explain the subject to them and get them to ask you questions. And if they're asking you questions and off the bat you can answer succinctly and clearly to these random questions that you haven't prepared for, then you definitely know the subject pretty darn well. And then you're demonstrating a deep understanding of the subject. Lastly, number 10, systems thinking. Shane Parrish over at Farnham Street bundles a load of mental models together under the branch of systems thinking, from feedback loops to equilibriums and law of diminishing returns to bottlenecks. As its name suggests, it's thinking in terms of systems, a collection of things working together to create a cohesive entity. You need to think about whatever you are building in life as a system and how everything you do reacts and interacts in order to better build that system and build your life and the business that you want. Remember, Warren Buffett reads 500 pages a day, but it's not just 500 pages. It's specifically productive material, conducive to his world of investing. That is his system of finding that particular information, reading it, and then using it in his investment strategies. And that's system thinking. So guys, that's the top 10 mental models to help you build wealth. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new here. We've got new videos coming out every single week. I've been James from Embark, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.